And here we go.
There's the W. Here's ignition.
Roger, roll, Atlantic. Doubling up.
Did it just do a Kerbal?
Back to the moon and beyond.
Put that in the big bag, you know.
Back at home, we all have a lot of work to do, but from here, it sure looks like a perfect flow.
Propulsion continues to be normal.
We did have an observation.
Equalize.
343 unfolds to go.
It's orange.
Water towers can fly!
Bingo! Right in the center. Where's Jacqueline? There it is!
That was surreal.
That's not what we want to see.
No!
Oh my God.
Yikes. You bet. Sure. We don't need any more of these.
Well, hello everybody. It's been a fun evening so far, I can tell you. I'm going to go through what the delay was starting the stream there and the whole fun and games with the Firefly side as well. But I think we should really just get straight into this to start with by introducing we got on with us. First, we've been produced by Carson. Thanks to Carson, because I always thank the producer. I make a big point of thanking the producer every single time, and I never forget. We're also joined out in the field by Max Evans. And Max, hello, but also, do you see any signs of frost yet?
Good evening, everybody. And Chris, you will be delighted to know that, yes, I do see some ice now beginning to form on the bottom of Falcon 9's first stage LOX tank.
Thank the Lord, because I was kind of worried I might be up till 4 o'clock in the morning my time with this one. With he's going to go to the end of the window. So that's good news. We're in prop load. And yes, normally we do start a stream 1 hour before we get to T0. That makes sense. We can have a chat, take some questions. We'll still do that. We'll still have a chat. We'll still take questions. Speaking of which, do at NASA Spaceflight or at NSF in chat, followed by your question. Send it, it'll go into our panel. We can click on it, we can talk about it. So we've got plenty of time still for that. But of course, yeah, the reason for the delay is we've got our team out covering the Firefly launch because we're their launch live stream partner. And the fun thing is, we're still always can multitask. But YouTube, in its infinite wisdom, has now limited the amount of streams you can do at the same time. And that caused problems with starting this one. So we had to have a little bit of jingling going on to make it work. But we've managed to make it work because thanks to the likes of Jay Keegan, he fixed it. That's Jay Keegan's thing. He likes fixing it. You know what? I'm also going to say hello to Jerry. I don't know. I know Jerry's not talking. Jerry's out there with the cameras. But maybe Jerry can just pop on and say, at the very least, hello.
Oh, I can come in and say hello tonight. I'm actually not out there with any cameras tonight, so unfortunately won't be getting any views from me, but I am here. It's a bit of a team effort tonight to cover this Starlink that we kind of more or less threw back on the books as soon as Firefly was scrubbed for the evening. So it was on, and then it was off, and then it was on, and it was off, and it was back on again. So here we are.
Very good. Well, it's always nice to hear from you, Jerry, regardless, because you are normally out there all the time, so that's fair enough. Max, let's talk about this rocket and this mission. This is a Starlink 1041. It's a pretty old Falcon 9 booster. They're all getting their big numbers at the end now, aren't they?
Yeah, and this is one of the older ones in the fleet, being booster B1078, and tonight is its 26th assigned flight so far. And in terms of its flight history to this point, includes the likes of let's see here. Cruise 6, SES-03B, mPOWER B, USSF 124, BlueBird 15, Nusantara Lima, PSN N5, and 20 previous Starlink missions. So it's not a youngster in the fleet anymore by any means, but it's still a ways off from the current fleet leader being 1067 at 33 flights. So yeah, it's not a young one, but also I believe its first flight was Cruise 6. If not, it was a Starlink mission just before that by maybe a month or two. But that was 3 years ago, just over now. So yeah, not a young booster by any means, but hopefully at about 8.5 minutes into flight, this booster will be meeting the drone ship Just Read the Instructions, stationed about 600 kilometers or so downrange in the Atlantic Ocean, actually going northeast tonight compared to what we have gotten used to now, heading southeast. So it'll be heading north at about a 53-degree orbital inclination and hopefully meeting the drone ship Just Read the Instructions for a successful landing and recovery. I can't remember if it's Bob or Doug out there tonight aiding in fairing recovery. I think it's Bob. I could be wrong. Hang on. I'm trying to pull up the fact sheet here. I'm such a bad commentator. Bob. It is Bob. Okay, good. So yeah, by all means, from what we can see, it is essentially a business as usual Starlink mission for SpaceX. As you can see, the graphic of airspace and maritime closures here in the Atlantic Ocean north of the Cape Canaveral Space Force Station here, going up the coast of Georgia and the Carolinas. But this is the first time that they have launched northeast this year, and we are getting back into the time of year where they will launch that way due to weather in that area beginning to improve a little bit. So I don't think that they're going to switch this for the Starlink Group 6 shell. I believe that is going to continue launching southeast. But for the Group 10 shell, which has gone back and forth, they have opted to fly northeast tonight, which is always a treat.
Speaking of fact sheets, I got a big thanks to Alex. Alex likes doing his fact sheets in the back, and he provides me with a big list to put into the YouTube description when we put the streams on, ready for the launches. It's crazy looking at these stats. I mean, the stats are SpaceX's 636th launch overall, the 27th launch of this year, and this is March the 1st local time. So they're already on 27, and has been it's not been a full belt run of launches yet for SpaceX. We know how fast their cadence has become. It is really impressive what SpaceX is doing, not least at Slick 40, because Slick 40, they turn around that pad in 2 or 3 days, Max. I mean, I never envisioned that for a Falcon 9 pad. I know they want that for a Starship pad. They want it turned around every day. But for Slick 40, it's an old pad. I don't think they've done much modifications to it, but for some reason, they can turn around this pad quite fast.
Well, I mean, Pad 40 is designed specifically for Falcon 9. It isn't built to handle the likes of Falcon 9 and Falcon Heavy, which is a whole other beast in itself, just like Launch Complex 39A about 5 miles to its north, which Falcon 9 is not going to be flying from anymore, at least for the, I guess, continued future as far as we can see, because as Kiko Donchev, who is the vice president of launch at SpaceX, has said, Pad 39A is going to be limited now to just Falcon Heavy and eventually Starship as well. So Falcon 9, at least here on the east coast of Florida, only has Pad 40, which is concerning is the wrong word, but certainly puzzling and maybe a bit alarming, because I believe their targeted launch cadence this year is between 160 and 170, and they did in between that last year with both pads, and now they only have one pad now for Falcon 9, which they have turned around in under 3 days on a number of times now. So it's not unlikely, but again, the pad, including the likes of the actual hold down frame at the bottom of the transporter erector, the transporter erector itself, the hangar, every bit of that pad has been purpose-built just for Falcon 9 and is the oldest launch pad SpaceX currently has here in Florida. They have been launching from this pad since 2010 when Falcon 9 first took flight here. So, yeah, it is built for it. They know the ins and outs of this pad and how it works, and how to have it turn around as fast as possible.
I love this view. This view is great because we did see, and I think it was your photograph. It was indeed your photograph, Max, where you had it centered, SLS rolling back to the VAB. You had it centered between the original fixed service structure of 39A and the new 39A tower for Starship. And we were all thinking, one day, and potentially Artemis 3, we're going to see an eclipse of SLS rolling out to 39B, past 39A with a Starship on the pad. You have your Mark 1 eyeballs out there. Now in the photographs, you literally go out there, you'll be able to see it with your own eyes. What would be your emotions to see these two massive rockets next to each other practically?
Well, I know I'm not alone in this. I know D has also put a lot of thought into this as well, and anyone else who covers launch cadence as much as we have so far in recent years. I think just the visual of Starship being here alone is going to be just something like, the instant I see a ship or a booster in just any area close to either the VAB or Roberts Road or anywhere that we can have cameras on, I don't know if I'm going to be able to contain my excitement. I might just start yelling, jumping up and down, and maybe a bit emotional because it's been a long time coming. And Starship's future, it really depends on operations kicking off here in Florida between LC-39A and also both launch facilities eventually at Space Launch Complex 37, which SpaceX also recently took a lease of from ULA. So seeing both together is going to be one of those things that I think you'll never forget. And I think it'll be a similar feeling to seeing Starship Vertical for the first time. And I saw that back when it was Booster 4 and Ship 20 for the presentation back in the early parts of 2022. Oh, good Lord, that was 4 years ago. Criminy. So it's going to be a real treat, Chris, and I cannot wait for us to have cameras on it, whether it be from here on a boat, maybe somewhere from an aerial perspective. It is going to be a treat nonetheless.
Whatever we can do, we take photography of it because it's going to be absolutely incredible. I mean, we've seen what it
100%.
looks like at Starbase. For me, it's a little bit more special when it be from KSC. It's just 39A is so historic and it's so laid into history. What's been launched from there, it's like a proper pad. I really do hope and I expect that the first Artemis Starship launches will be from 39A. There's every chance it could be from Starbase, but it would be very poetic if it's from 39A because of the Apollo program. And of course, it had the massive space shuttle program, which of course I would mention it indefinitely. But I want to go back to Falcon 9 because we are getting closer to the T-minus 20-minute event. I may have preempted it slightly more because I get so excited about Bandicam in this and putting out on X. It's a T-minus 20-minute event. It's the most famous event. Yes, well, it is the big event that pretty much says everything is going to plan. If there wasn't a T-minus 20-minute event, then we know something's gone wrong. And we would have seen a hold message by now. But luckily, so far, so good. Everything's proceeding to plan. Yeah, we're a few minutes away. I've got a chance to thank a few people, by the way. Red T-Bone has become a PadRat member, as has Paige Tassin 4571. YouTube, of course, has changed from usernames to their actual @names, which is ridiculous, but that's something they've done. Bideford, absolute regular Bideford, has gone, good evening. Thank you, Chris, Max, and Jay, for coverage and clicking on the like button. Thank you, Bideford. Very much appreciated. I'm just keeping one eye on this. We've still got 20 seconds to the event. Zachary, hi NSF. I'm heading out to Florida to visit the KSC. I want to watch a Falcon 9 launch. How close can I get to Slick 40 as a member of the public at night? Echo Star, and where do I need to go for the best sound? Right. Hold that thought, Zachary, because we're going to do the T-minus 20-minute event any second now. We're getting closer and closer.
4, 3, 2, 1. Bingo! Right on cue. The T-minus 20-minute event has begun. And so, essentially, a quick rundown of what you are seeing now is SpaceX beginning to chill down the lines or the plumbing inside of the transporter erector in preparation for Stage 2 liquid oxygen loading or thermal conditioning. The last thing you want to have happen is flow a super cold cryogenic fluid through any material or plumbing that is not either at or very near the same temperature, because the fluid will very quickly turn into a gas and expand and maybe break your plumbing or your engine even as well, because the engines also have to be chilled down and conditioned. But what you're seeing now is just the excess gaseous oxygen now, or GOX, coming out of the transporter erector as the lines are chilled down. This will continue up until about T-minus 16 and a half minutes, about 3 minutes away from now. And once that stops, that should be our visual indicator of Stage 2 LOX load commencing, I guess.
Awesome. Very good. So that's a good question, because quite a few people who watch these streams will never have been. And I do appreciate that. Not everybody who watches these streams has ever been to KSC. And Zachary's going to go out there for the first time, it looks like, to KSC. Where would be the best viewing spot for a member of the public to go and see a Falcon 9 launch and get the best sound and best views they can possibly do?
That is awesome. Oh God, I'm on screen now. Gross. This is actually a video we did a few years ago now, showing you or trying to do our best, trying to explain the best that we possibly can, where you can go watch a rocket launch and what the best spots are for each pad and for each rocket. In this case, Falcon 9 from Slick 40 going northeast. I would say somewhere in the Titusville area, maybe around the area of either. Oh goodness gracious, what's the park name north of the Max Brewer? Good gracious. There are a couple of parks and marinas just to the north of the Max Brewer Bridge, which are nice. But from this pad and this trajectory, I would honestly say your best bet may be on top of the mPOWER bridge, because at that point you're maybe, I don't know, 100 feet off the ground, maybe a bit less. And then at that point you were looking down at the pad, and because it's flying northeast, and because no, excuse me, and because you are north of the pad in Titusville, it'll be flying directly. It'll be flying pretty much next to you and flying north, so it won't be flying away from you. So you will see pretty much the entire launch trajectory from a side profile. So you'll have a great view of the exhaust expansion from all 9 Merlin 1Ds, both in its size, in its shape, and its color. It's a glorious view. The sound should also have no problems hitting you there as well. So I think for that pad and this trajectory, I would say on top of the mPOWER bridge for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I think I would agree with what Max has to say. That the mPOWER bridge is definitely, for going northeast, is kind of the place to be. And then, if it's during the daytime, Playa Linda Beach, if it's open, obviously they've had really
Yes.
odd hours during the Artemis campaign. Now that it's back in the VAB, it's actually open. All of the walkways are open except for the ones that are under construction, and it's returned to normal hours. But they have been closing, I believe, the first 4 walkways closest to the pads and to the KSC due to security concerns with the Artemis being on the pad, which is an interesting thing that we didn't see for Artemis 1, but it's very clear that they're taking safety very seriously for this.
And then also just shows you how close Playa Linda Beach can get to LC 39B when Artemis is on the pad. They do have a few pull-offs on the entry road into it, but I think when it was at the pad, they had all of those blocked off, and they didn't want anyone stopping there. I think again for these same concerns of safety and security. I mean, it's different when you have people eventually riding on it versus not, like Artemis 1. So I can certainly see their concern, but it just makes seeing it from Playa Linda a little bit more difficult. But hey.
Yeah, definitely. That's historically been like a NASA not requirement or rule or guideline or for all the shuttle launches that used to go out of 39A or B, and it used to be, and I believe still is. It's been, well, not for the foreseeable future, and we'll get into this in a second. There'll be no more obviously NASA crews or any crews launching from 39A at the moment due to the lack of the crew access arm. But also getting into specifically 39A in regards to Falcon, it hasn't launched anything this year and isn't expected to launch anything up and through an undetermined amount of time. So here's a question. What launches first out of 39A this year, Falcon or Starship?
Oh boy.
Can't join in.
Yes, please. I think it isn't a surefire slam dunk. I think it's going to be Falcon Heavy for sure, because I think there are, 2 or 3 scheduled for this year. I can't think of the actual names of the missions though, but I think Falcon Heavy should fly first, probably if not late spring, sometime in the summer. But Starship, if it does end up flying this year from here, which I really hope it does, is probably going to be somewhere in the mid Q4 timeframe, like maybe November, December, maybe somewhere in October if we're really lucky. But we should begin to see the first Starship vehicles here, hopefully around summertime. But there's a long way to go in terms of making sure that the pad is ready to go and receive both the booster and the ship. And they also have to get Roberts Road ready to store them in the meantime while they're not at the pad testing. So, but to answer the question, I think it is for sure Falcon Heavy.
Yeah, I
Very
believe
good.
it would be Falcon Heavy as well. I don't particularly see a reason for them to launch any sort of Falcon 9 mission from 39A at the moment, besides, that they have their launch cadence that they want to keep up. But, the reason pretty clearly that they're not launching anything is so they don't have to pause work on the 39A Starship pad, which is right next door and very definitely would have to close every launch. So.
I'm gonna just pause for a second because I'm gonna make the assumption why this message is sent without really knowing, but I'm gonna read out anyway. Mans on Mars just says, I'd love to dedicate this launch to my good friend Joe, a great friend and space enthusiast who will forever be honoured and remembered. Love you, brother. What a lovely message in any context that may be meant. I'm not going to make any assumptions at all, but it was definitely something I wanted to stop, read it out carefully, and then return back to the launch coverage. So thank you for doing that, because I think that's a lovely thing, regardless of the context behind it. Also, we do have a question where I do have an answer for it. But I don't have an answer for the actual question, but I have a reference point to make. Liz wants to know how much weight does all the soot and dirt add to Falcon 9? I would say not a lot, but I will give you a shuttle story. It wouldn't be a stream with me on without a shuttle story.
It's true.
Anyone who watched the space shuttle program over the years will remember that STS-1 and STS-2 had painted white external tanks. The reason for that was two reasons. Cosmetic, true, they wanted to make it look nice and pretty for its first launches, but also because of solar radiation. They thought the paint would help protect the tank and the TPS foam beneath it from solar radiation that they thought would be a problem. They realized that wasn't a problem pretty early on, but had already painted the first two tanks. They then decided not to paint the third tank onwards from STS-3, and they saved 300 pounds worth of paint. That's how much it weighed to paint an external tank, and that was then added to payload capability, so it made sense to do it. But that was a reference point. So on a Falcon 9, I don't think will be as much. I really don't think. I don't think it'd be any reference point at all. I will point out that on the soot you will see lines. The reason for the lines, Max, isn't it? They actually do rub away the soot from the weld line so they can just do some checks on the Falcon 9 boost between flights.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that is critical once your boosters start getting above 20 flights, and just like a 1067 being at 33 flights right now is the best example, because whenever we do see it, we see these obvious and distinct white lines, box lines around the entire tank section of the booster. So yeah, it's very important to inspect those, and as far as we know, that is the only reason why they would ever wipe the soot off. Otherwise, they just leave it on the booster caking in layers as it goes, because obviously the weight of the soot obviously is not enough to deter Falcon 9 from heading off onto its trajectories that it normally does. If it was a problem, you would see SpaceX having it cleaned off. I think that's just that's the easiest way to put it. So obviously SpaceX views it as no issue.
I honestly thought we'd see a Falcon 9 kind of like car wash. I've seen, like, there's definitely a washing machine for, I can't remember which it was, but it was a space vehicle related element, and they did put it through like an industrial sized car wash. And that was how they cleaned it post-launch. But obviously Falcons, they just realized there's no point doing it. And it has become an iconic sight now. You can almost gain the age of the booster by how sooty it is. It's crazy.
Yep.
Yeah, it is a little bit of a unique thing with Falcon, with its fuel and how it builds up the soot, that a lot of the crewed missions that have flown on Falcon 9, they've had the crew, if the booster had enough of a soot buildup on the exterior of it before the mission launched, they would sign their names in the side of the soot on the booster. And those could actually be seen for quite a few missions after that launched, upwards of 10 plus missions. You could still faintly see these soot signatures, in the side of the booster, covered by more and more layers of soot. And there's also a couple Easter eggs on some of these weird ones. You'll see a smiley face or something occasionally from some of the workers if you look close enough. But it's definitely an interesting characteristic that really Falcon 9 is the only rocket in the world that has at the moment.
I think the most famous example of that is Inspiration 4 on booster. What was it? 1072, I think, was the booster that flew on that mission. All four crew members signed their names. I think it was below the X, I believe, on the SpaceX logo on the booster. It was awesome to see for a couple of missions before those got caked over. But it's weird to see a brand new shiny white Falcon 9 booster come in nowadays. It's genuinely puzzling and a bit concerning, because we see that maybe once or twice a year. I think the most common place, or the most common time we ever see that, is if a Falcon Heavy is flying, because at least the center core has to be brand new as well, because those at the moment are not being recovered. But the side cores usually are a bit sooty. But I think the GOES-U mission that launched in June of 2024 was the last Falcon Heavy to fly with brand new cores for both side boosters, the center core as well. But here is a great photo of the crew of Inspiration 4 with their fingers out, covered in soot, having signed their names there. It was a really cool sight to see.
Hey, that guy on the left's NASA administrator now.
Yes, he is.
And we're all thankful for it. Right, and now I believe Carson may have a little surprise for us all. Carson. Oh, do the moon thing. There's the moon thing. Yeah. Oh, look what we got in the store today. People go, oh, why are you doing store thing? Well, this is the thing. This is our original content we're putting out there. We're not just talking over someone else's stream here. We are literally going, Max is literally out there. He's out there It costs money and things. So we obviously have ways of support. You can see the support coming on top of the thing. That's great. It's always awesome people supporting the chat. But store is a great way of supporting us. But I always say it's a great thing because you get something in return for your support. Something through the purse. And here is some of our merch range. I do know that the next thing we're going to share is absolutely awesome. But we can move to that as well because that is something I'm looking forward to myself. These are something I have on my wall. I have got our prints on our wall next to me, literally to the right-hand side of where I'm talking right now. And I literally shove friends into this room so they can look at it. Very much like the Thor movie where the bloke goes, "Behold, my stuff." I literally do that with friends. They get shoved in this room so I can show my metal prints on the side of my wall because they look amazing. So that is something we've got updated ones all the time. SLS, and there's some there from you, Max. And if you do get something like a metal print from the store, you get a cut of it as well. So it's everybody happy. The person who gets it in reverse is happy. You're happy, Max, because you get a cut. And then NSF is happy because we make a bit of profit on it, obviously.
Yeah,
Yes,
these last three images were from the most recent SLS rollback into High Bay 3 in the VAB, and NASA personnel were so kind to have us on the north side of the VAB, and also have cameras right next to High Bay 3 having it come in, and that's the image that you see on your left. On the left there, which might be honestly a top 5 photo of mine of all time, and I'm definitely having that on my wall. I'm the most guilty person of having. I have none of my work on my walls. I'm not even joking. So I think, but that is going to be the first time I get anything for myself on my wall. I think it is genuinely one of my favorite photos. Definitely a bucket list one for sure. Because I wasn't around for shuttle, nor was I media. I think I was still in I think it was I was in the 8th grade when STS 135 took off. It was the very last shuttle mission. I know. I'm sorry, Chris. I'm sorry. Yeah. So definitely check those out. Those are certainly favorites of ours. And whichever photographer took that photo gets a cut and a bit of support from that image. So it's always greatly appreciated.
Yeah, people go, "Oh, why can't you just do it at the start or do it at the end?" Well, the idea is because, look, Max is there, literally there. He's at KSC now. Look, he's there. He's gone out there. I'm here. With his cameras. And
Pixar didn't happen, right?
Yeah, these things cost money, so we have to pay the bills. That's how it works. I know. I mean, I'm the same. I'll tell you one thing. Before we started a YouTube channel, I started this 20-odd years ago as a news site, on the forum and what have you. Then the actual YouTube channel became about 6 years ago, something like that. I had no clue what was involved. No clue at all. I was one of those persons in chat going, "Stop selling stuff. Stop talking about super chats and what have you." I had no idea how much these things cost to run. The more bigger you get, the more it costs because you're putting out more and more content. It's crazy. It's bonkers. I could go on long-winded about it, but it's T-minus 5 minutes to go. So let's talk about the rocket, shall we? T-minus 5 minutes. What's the next big things to expect, Max?
So we should be through the point now of SpaceX beginning to chill all 9 Merlin 1D engines on the bottom of Falcon 9's first stage there for the same reason that they were thermally conditioning the lines in the transporter erector for stage 2 LOX load. Again, the last thing you want to do is flow super cold propellant, either LOX or RP1 in this case, because that is also super chilled through the pumps or just any of the plumbing in there for the risk of super high gas buildup in rapid expansion and causing damage, which would cause a headache for a lot of people. I think that's fair enough to say. But that should be underway now, and that'll wrap up at about maybe T-minus 2.5 minutes or so. Ooh, views from the launch pad. How about that? Yes. And then after that, we should be hearing callouts from RP1 and LOX load closeouts on both first and second stage. And then Falcon 9 should be entering startup at about T-minus 60 seconds. So a little over 3 minutes from now, from that point. There we go. Strong back retract beginning, which is where the clamps there at the very top release, and it comes back by about 3 degrees in preparation to throw itself back more at T0. But Chris, we are now at T-minus 4 minutes. I have some cameras to get ready, so I'm going to let both you and Jerry go for a bit, and I will see y'all on the other side.
Better winds and following seas, Max. Thanks for doing that. And of course, yeah, Max is out there. He's going to be moving his camera following this rocket. I can't imagine how much fun that must be. I mean, the first thing is I can't run a camera. I'm useless with cameras. You see the photographs I take on the iPhone, which is basically meant to be like for dummies. I still take rubbish photographs, so I just don't know how people do it. The photographers are like magical to me. But yes, I want to thank Zachary again, because Zachary's back saying thanks for the help. I appreciate it. EchoStar is, according to NSF app, due to go east. Is Max Brewer Bridge still the best bet? Jerry, Max Brewer Bridge.
Echo Star is for an upcoming launch. Is that the Heavy, or is that the commercial one that's on the docket? Let me look at the next space flight here, I believe. But East, assuming that's from Pad 40, I would say, yeah, the Max Brewer Bridge is probably your best bet. Maybe Cars Park, if it's a daytime and they're open. It looks like that's 11 p.m. at night, so yeah, no, that they wouldn't be open. So looks like it would be Max Brewer Bridge is probably one of the best places you could go. Or it's an elevated view versus some of the other parks up in Titusville, which are, at sea level. So it's, I would say that's the best
Stage
spot.
1 lock float is complete.
Stage 1 lock load is pretty. Jerry, literally just as you finished, he said that.
There we go.
It's almost like you timed it perfectly. Wonderful.
Timed it perfectly.
So that's all going well. Rosebud, I mean, there's lots of people asking about viewing questions. That's really interesting because quite a lot of people watching the stream at this time of night, I must say. So maybe a lot of people are getting their plans in order for upcoming launches. But yes, we need to do more of a viewing page, I reckon, Rosebud. But thank you for your question because we've been talking about that just now. But I did want to acknowledge the fact that you're asking the same question. We will try and find a way of making a website page with all the information and links you need, like parking and things like that. Because I think there's that much interest in it, it might be a good idea to do so. So leave that with me, Rosebud. You've given me ideas now, because the news site and the website is my part of thing. I don't normally do live streams. Not my Yorkshireness, at least anyway. Mekkazilla wants to know, do we know how many Merlins have been made? Alex probably knows the answer. Alex probably does know the answer. Alex is sleeping right now.
Lock float is complete.
There we go. More call-outs. Everything's proceeding to plan. We've done under 2 minutes to launch. I will say that you'll see testing on McGregor Live. We've got McGregor Live cameras, and so we always keep an eye on the Raptors rolling by, the McGregors rolling by, the stages even that they fire there as well. So there's lots basically you can watch on McGregor Live to see them being tested. But as far as actual numbers, we'll have to ask Alex about it in the morning, but I don't think anyone really knows because that's more of a SpaceX internal thing. Right, back to the launch. We're coming up 1 minute early. Gas closeouts. And I will be very quiet during the launch itself because you want to hear the rocket noises, not me mumbling. You want to hear rumble, not mumble. Hey, never thought of that. You want to put 60 seconds?
Falcon 9 has entered startup.
Into startup. Wait for the launch director next.
The launch director is go for launch.
The launch director is go. 30 seconds. Look for the green flash. You'll probably see the orange flash more. And then lift off and we'll be quiet through the rumble. 10 seconds. Good launch. Wait for the audio to arrive from several miles away. Takes a while to arrive. Lovely. Yeah, that's the thing with our cameras. We're like 2-3 miles away. Jerry, how many miles away from the position Max will be from the actual launch site itself? 2 or 3 miles?
Yeah, Slick 40 is about 2.5 miles away from the end of the press site lawn where we will set up for launch here. And I do have to say that it is a different experience, and not a little bit auditory, but like the rocket going southeast versus northeast, it definitely hugs a lot closer to our position versus southeast. It flies almost directly away from our position. So it's definitely a different experience versus both of these trajectories here.
Very nice. About 20 seconds left of this first stage burn, and we'll have stage separation. Great track from Max, who you heard earlier, now moving the camera and tracking, which is not easy, by the way. This is going fast. Understatement of the year. There's engine cut off on the booster. Stage separation coming up next. There's
Main
MVAC
engine
ignition.
cutoff. Stage separation confirmed.
And due to the world of latency, slight delay for the SpaceX live feed to catch up.
Back startup.
Now still going nominally. The booster is now going to be returning back.
Bearing separation confirmed.
Good expansion there on the MVAC.
Yeah, you can actually see, thought I saw briefly one of those fairings that we just heard separated in the plume. Yep, there it is again.
Amazing.
See it
That's
falling behind. It's either the booster or one of the fairings. It's hard to tell.
I'm thinking fairings, and people do ask, what's the point? It's just the flappy bits at the top. They actually cost millions of dollars, those fairings. And SpaceX decided, let's try and fish them out. I think it was described by Elon as their pallets of gold falling from the sky, because they're that expensive, and they have been reusing them extensively now and saving them money from actually going out and having to buy new fairings every single time to launch. And of course, SpaceX launch at quite a lot of times, so
Both
it makes
vehicles
perfect
are on
sense.
a nominal trajectory.
Nominal trajectory for both vehicles. That's the booster returning to the drone ship, and the second stage with the Starlinks heading out to its keyhole in space. We used to call it in the space shuttle program. I was telling my inner Rob Navis there. In fact, I'm going to ask chat, how many of you were around during the space shuttle program, and how many of you are new and just joined basically because of SpaceX and things like that? It'd be fascinating to get a rough idea. I think I was triggered by Max mentioning how he was in 8th grade or something when STS-135 launched. I was like, way to make me feel old.
Oh yeah, it's not that much better for me, but I was never media or any of that sort of thing for anything during the shuttle era, but it was definitely, growing up in Florida, it was something that we saw and heard quite frequently. It was always, honestly, one of the coolest parts was during returns landing at the shuttle landing facility, the sonic boom over Orlando that you could hear audibly, the double boom from tens and tens of miles away from the landing zone. It was very cool.
The next major milestone we'll be seeing is the booster, and that'll be the entry burn. We're about 1 to 2 minutes away from that. You can see the telemetry on the left-hand side of the booster. The altitude is dropping. The speed is increasing, but of course that will change. Whereas on the right-hand side, you'll see the MVAC, the single MVAC, pushing the second stage on the Starlinks, now past 13,000 kilometers an hour, and the altitude rising. There's a view on the left from the booster.
Both vehicles continue to follow a nominal trajectory.
Thank you, SpaceX.
Stage 1 FTS safe.
Oh, and there's entry burn.
Max has got the entry burn ahead of time because obviously this is live, less latency compared to rebringing up the SpaceX stream into our stream. Surfboard of fire, I've had described to me by SpaceX as saying it's like riding a surfboard of fire. And there is the view from the booster itself via the SpaceX feed. There's cutoff. Next be a single engine burn for the landing burn. There's some great Griffin action there, by the way. Look at you can see how fast it's going, 5,000 kilometers an hour. It's now decreasing. It's now getting hit the atmosphere. It's now getting some drag. And that speed will get down to about 900 kilometers an hour. And basically that's when the single engine will fire for the landing burn. 20 kilometers high. Dropping really fast.
Oh, look at that plasma on the grid fins.
Hello, Max. Welcome back.
Hello.
Brett captured the entry burn.
I told you we'd see it.
Yeah, really, the speed at which these things approach is like it's hard to comprehend until you go and see one in person and see just how quickly it falls out of the sky. Like it's ridiculously impressive to see, even as they're going relatively slow as they are, a couple 100 feet off the ground.
Especially coming back here for an RTLS return here at the Cape, because the entry burn happens well above your head, and the landing burn happens like a lot lower than that and not long after. So it's a real treat.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Any second now.
Stage 1 landing burn.
There's the landing burn.
Stage 2 is in terminal guidance.
Stage 1 landing leg deploy.
Nice.
2 FTS safe.
Stage 1
Lovely.
landing confirmed.
Stage 1 landing confirmed.
Yeah, I was
Should be coming up
hoping
on.
I wasn't. My commentary's going to jinx a Falcon 9 landing.
Should be
Chris,
coming
you're
up
never doing a
on-
live stream again. You jinxed it.
should be coming up on SECO 1 or second engine cutoff 1 here in a couple seconds.
Back shutdown.
Bingo. I would say that was a successful launch.
Nominal park orbit
Well,
insertion.
they've got to get to pedal deploy first, but I think everything is going normally so far.
Indeed. Oh, into the replays already. Carson with the
Wow.
rapid fire.
Carson wants to go to bed. I will say, by the way, quickly on the landing, there's a SpaceX guy called Lars Blackmore. He is principal landing for SpaceX. He designed a lot of the Falcon 9 return, the software and the programming, and he's now working on Starship. So you can imagine the success rate they've got with Falcon 9 will be employed into Starship program. That gives me a lot of hope. You'll hear the English accent on SpaceX Starship streams when he's talking about the ship returning. Lars Blackmore, absolute genius.
Yeah, he was a big part in the program when Falcon 9 was first getting off the ground. So I can't wait to see how Starship and Booster perform on version 3 going forward this year.
It is interesting to note with this new trajectory, not new trajectory, but new for the year trajectory going northeast. I'm seeing a lot of folks in chat along the eastern seaboard of the U.S. saying that they saw it from their house, and I saw like Atlantic City, Connecticut.
Epic.
It's very
Nice.
cool to see that this trajectory is, it's definitely very visible, even in basically absolute darkness in the United States here, going up along the East Coast.
Yeah, if you guys saw it and got videos or photos, please post them and tag us. We would love to see those.
I was going to say, I was going to channel my inner Sawyer and say, use any of our social. We've got X accounts, we've got Facebook accounts, we've got Instagram accounts, we've even got TikTok.
Chris, we got audio.
account.
We got audio. Shh.
Shh, audio.
Lovely old crackle tonight. Glorious.
Yeah, absolutely stunning. Yeah, again, you took any pictures, do actually, reply to one of our posts on any of the social media platforms you prefer. We do them all.
It's so unique and refreshing to see Falcon 9 flying on this northeast flight path again, because we don't normally get this angle. Because when it's flying southeast, especially from our perspective here at the Kennedy Space Center, it's flying more or less directly away from us. So it's arcing over and away from us. When it's going northeast, it's not flying next to us, but we certainly have a lot better side view of it than we do normally, because it's not flying directly away from us, about 180 degrees from our location. So a real treat to see.
What does it feel like, Max, when you're there from that distance? Do you feel it? Because the shuttle stories are your chest would rumble from the SRBs, but Falcon 9 launch from Slick 40, do you still feel it?
I mean, from the press site from Pad 40, honestly, it isn't anywhere near as intense from 39A. But if we are like watching from the perspective somewhere on the Cape Canaveral Space Force Station, where we're like 3 miles away, just over 2 miles away sometimes, which is very, very, very close, that is when you get that really distinct and hard rumble in your chest. We do get it here from Pad A for Falcon Heavy as well, but we also have that in Starbase as well for Starship, from either the Rocket Ranch Outpost, and also for those watching from the perspective of South Padre Island, which is 6 miles away or 5 miles away, and it's still an incredibly intense sound. But for a quote-unquote normal Falcon 9 from KSC and Pad 40, it's not super intense, but obviously, as you hear through the microphone, it's not quiet.
It isn't. It's impressive because people do go, "Oh, Falcon 9, it's just 9 engines. It's not that big a deal compared to your Starships of this world," which fair enough it is. But the thing about SLS, 4 hours 25s, but it's the 2 SRBs. The SRBs are the noisemakers. They are the air crackers. They are amazing. I mean, SLS Artemis 2, once they get the leaks sorted out, that's going to be an incredible thing to witness.
And Falcon 9 itself as well is one of the more loud rockets as well, because like if we when they used to launch from Pad A here at the KSC just for a normal mission, those were always a lot more loud and intense sound compared to Pad 40 from the same perspective. But Falcon 9 in general is just one of the more louder rockets because of those 9 Merlin 1Ds and how the exhausts from all 9, I guess, all intertwine with each other, especially compared to like Atlas 5 or Vulcan, which are also very loud, but also sound much, much different because of the smaller SRBs and the RD 180 and the BE4s on the Vulcan. So yeah, all rockets have their own unique sound profiles, but Falcon 9, even though it's the one we hear the most, is still among one of the loudest.
Very good. Let me catch up with some thanks, by the way, because I want to make sure I don't miss anybody out, even if it was just before the launch, like this one was. I'm thinking Boston is too far northeast, at least in my thought, to see this, because I do have someone from Boston asking if they'd see it, a streak of light in the sky or a small light. Would it be invisible that far north? Boston?
I think the furthest north I've seen photos was around like the Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania area. So I think maybe if you're looking in the right direction and the weather in your area is cooperating, I'll have to look at a map again and make sure. I honestly can't say for sure either way, but I'm kind of leaning toward yes. I guess it just depends on how long Falcon 9's upper stage is burning and I guess how close it is to the coast at that point.
Awesome. Oh, by the way, we've got some viewers here who actually saw it. Callan Vlogs saw it, saying I saw it in Raleigh, North Carolina, which is a nice site. I've been to Charlotte, North Carolina. Lovely, lovely people. So yeah, big shout out there. Of course, Dazzy's from Charlotte as well, and Lindsay. Pamela Dawson. Sorry, I've butchered names because our panel cuts your name in half and it makes me sound like an idiot, which I am, but also it makes me sound like an idiot. Great view from Murrells Inlet, South Carolina. So we're getting some ideas of where you can see this. Yeah, this is quite good. Mighty Murish, even. As always, thank you for the coverage. Shout out to my New Hampshire friends who attempted to watch. I hope they did get to see it. Maybe a little off topic. Did NASA want another spacecraft to boost space station? Right, when they're coming down in the next 4 years. Right, so that's from Ad Astra 321. there's no chance they're going to reboost the ISS. The end of the ISS will be a deorbit. I think that is pretty much a set plan now. Reboosting it would be something they could probably do, but the actual hardware on the ISS is now aging to a point where it's just not worth it. It's sad, but it's true, where it'll be simply a SpaceX Cargo Dragon modified to deorbit it, and we're going to see a mere re-entry of the vehicle, sadly, as its end of life. But we've got commercial space stations coming up anyway. Brooke has mentioned that I'm in Massachusetts, 40 minutes from Boston, and we saw it. There we go.
Amazing.
So that's incredible. Thank you for popping in and saying that, because that is great. It's great knowledge for future launches. Let's face it, there's going to be a lot of these launches coming up this year. So we're building up some kind of map for people here, which is they can get some expectations of what they'll see. By the way, Apocalypse Cow, Danger Moves, I call him, because our Raptorsides always see him. He's gifted 5 team membership. Thank you, Apocalypse Cow. And the last one is Crafty Geek. Vandy is closest launch site to my home. Hope to see a launch this year. Return to launch site would be especially awesome. Any Vandy launches with high likelihood of RTLS coming up in the spring or summer? How close to launch detail is set? Well, I would say, I don't know offhand, but I would say check out Next Space Flight, because they do have all the upcoming launches to a point, and they will have the details if it's a drone ship landing or if it's an RTLS. So that will give you the clue. Make sure you're on Next Space Flight. Keep an eye on upcoming launches. You'll see the Vandenberg ones. Click on it, and you'll see what kind of landing it is, and that will give you some planning for you. So I think that's the best way of doing it. Right, this is way past my bedtime, so I'm going to say thank you for all of you joining us. We had a big audience for this Starlink, so that's really cool, because people are not getting bored with Starlinks. There's so many of them. You could expect some people and the hardcore audience to stay, but that was quite a lot of people watching this one, so that's really encouraging that people do like their rocket launches regardless of the frequency of them. But thanks to Carson for producing this stream, because Carson's a bit of a hero for us on these late night streams, always putting his hand up to be able to allow us to do this, because without a producer, we couldn't do it. So thank you to Carson, the producer. Thank you also for Jerry for popping in. Thank you, Jerry.
Of course.
And also thanks to Max, especially, for being out there in the field with his cameras, getting these great views for us and commentating on this stream. Thank you, Max.
It's a pleasure as always, everyone. It's always fun, but thank you very much for coming to hang out with us, and we will hopefully see you again very soon.
Yep. Until next time, thanks for joining us, and goodbye.
And here we go. There's the deluge. Here's ignition.
Traveling up.
Did it just do a Kerbal?
Back to the moon and beyond.
Put that in the big bag, you know. Back at home, we all have a lot of work to do, but from here, it sure looks like a perfect world.
Propulsion continues to be normal.
We did have an observation. 343 unfolds to go.
It's orange!
Water towers fly!
Bingo! Right in the center. Where's Jacqueline? There it is!
That was surreal.
That's not what we want to see.
No!
Oh my God.
Yikes. You bet. We don't need any more of these.